was written by Tobias D., and this is the first public posting of it. Title: My Family's Curse. Part 1, journal entry, March 3rd. It happened again last night. Now I have started to write down most of them. The ones that are not too horrible, so that I can start to figure this out. This time it was Sophie. My sweet Sophie. Barely 7 years old. It felt so real, like all the others. We were at the park, the one with the tall, rusted slide she loves so much. I can still hear her laughter echoing in my head, bright and careless, as she climbed the rungs. The sky was a pale, hazy gray, like the world had been drained of color. But Sophie was so full of life that I didn't notice at first. She reached the top, waved at me with that mischievous grin of hers. Then she fell headfirst down. She started to fall down. I knew directly what would happen. I remember my heart sinking in that moment. I yelled for her to try to stop, to hold on, but it was already too late. She became all quiet. The whole park went silent, and then she was gone. I ran over, breathless, hands trembling as I reached her lifeless body. And then the slide just vanished into darkness. The park dissolved into nothingness, and I was alone. I woke up screaming her name, my body drenched in sweat. For a moment, I thought I'd lost her for real, that she had died just before my eyes. It was only after I ran to her room and saw her sleeping soundly, clutching her stuffed bunny, that I could breathe again. I don't know how much longer I can take this. Every night, one of my children dies. Every night, I lose them in some new, horrible way. Sometimes it's quick, an accident, a fall, something out of nowhere. Other times, it's slow, painful. I watch them suffer, screaming for me to help, but I never can. I always wake up right before they take their last breath. But that's the worst part. I wake up. Journal entry, March 5th. It's been weeks, months maybe. I've lost track of how long this has been happening. I can't even remember the last night I had a peaceful sleep, one where I didn't wake up choking on my own terror. I've tried to rationalize it, stress, anxiety, exhaustion, but it doesn't make sense. Why is this happening to us? If I only could have an answer, I might be able to handle this in a better way. These dreams, they're too real. I see it in their eyes too. I haven't asked them directly. I can't bear the thought of it, but I know they're dreaming the same things. I catch Sophie staring at her hands sometimes, like she's wondering if the blood from last night's dream has washed off. And Charlie, God, Charlie hasn't smiled in weeks. He used to be so carefree, so full of life, but now he barely talks. It's like something is slowly draining the joy out of all of them. They don't talk about it, but I see the fear in their faces when bedtime comes. Every night they ask if they can sleep in my room, but I tell them no, trying to keep things normal. But what's normal anymore? There's nothing normal about this. Nothing at all. Journal entry, March 10th. Tonight, it was Nathan, my oldest. I think it hurt more because he's the one I rely on the most, my rock. He's only 16, but sometimes it feels like he's the one holding the family together, especially now that Mark is gone. In the dream, we were driving. It was late, the sky pitch black except for the headlights cutting through the darkness. Nathan was in the passenger seat, fiddling with the radio. We were laughing at some stupid song that came on. For a second, it almost felt normal, like before. Then there was a sharp turn in the road. The steering wheel jerked in my hands. I tried to brake, but the car wouldn't stop. Nathan screamed my name, but I couldn't look at him. I was too busy fighting the car as it spun out of control. We hit something hard, and the world exploded into noise and chaos. I woke up before I could see what happened to him, but I knew. I always know. It's the same every night. I always lose them. I heard Nathan crying in his room after that. He's 16. He shouldn't be crying. Not like that. But I didn't go to him. I couldn't face it. I feel ashamed and not worthy of their affection. Journal entry. March 14th. Charlie came to me today. He looked pale, like he hadn't slept in days. He's only 10, but there's something in his eyes that shouldn't be there. Something old, tired. Mom, he whispered, tugging at my sleeve. Will the nightmares stop? Why do we keep dying? My blood ran cold. I didn't want to believe it. I still don't. But there it was, plain as day. He knows. They all do. I have tried to not talk about it, because in some silly way, it would not be true if we didn't talk about it. I tried to play dumb, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. What do you mean, sweetie? You're not dying. You're right here. But he just shook his head, his lips trembling. No, Mom, in the dreams, every night, I die. I see it. I pulled him into my arms, holding him tight as if I could somehow protect him from the truth, from whatever this curse is. But I can't. I can't save him from something I don't understand. The feeling of helplessness was starting to swallow me. It's real. I know it now. This isn't just in my head. Whatever's happening, it's happening to all of us. Journal entry, March 18th. It's getting worse. The dreams are more intense now, more vivid. I've lost Sophie, Charlie, Nathan, each of them, over and over, in different ways. Sometimes they drown, sometimes they fall, sometimes it's sickness, but it always ends the same. They die, and I can't stop it. Just stand by and watch. I don't know what to do anymore. I've tried everything. Therapy, medication, even sleeping pills, but nothing works. The dreams still come, and the worst part is, I'm starting to wonder if they're not just dreams at all. I know it sounds crazy, but what if this is real? What if, in some other world, my children really are dying, again and again, and I'm just being forced to watch it happen? Escalation of the dreams journal entry, March 22nd. They're all different now. Even little Rosie, who's only 4, has stopped smiling. It breaks my heart to see her this way. She used to be so full of life, always running around, laughing, chasing after her older brothers and sisters. Now, she barely says a word. It's like something has drained the joy out of her, out of all of them. I can feel it in myself too. This weight, this unshakable dread that sits in the pit of my stomach, growing heavier with each passing night. I've stopped trying to sleep through it. What's the point? I know what's waiting for me on the other side of consciousness. More death, more suffering. Last night, it was Olivia. She's only 13. We were at home, just the two of us. It was supposed to be a quiet evening. Pizza, a movie. Something normal. Something I thought would calm my nerves. But I should have known better. The house didn't feel right. There was something lurking just out of sight. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Halfway through the movie, Olivia said she wasn't feeling well. Her skin had gone pale, her hands shaking as she pressed them to her stomach. I thought maybe it was just a stomach bug, something innocent. I asked if she wanted to go lie down, but she shook her head, her face tight with pain. Then she collapsed. I remember the sound of her body hitting the floor, the sickening thud that made my heart stop. I rushed to her, my hands trembling as I tried to shake her awake. But she wasn't asleep. Her eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling, her mouth frozen in a silent scream. I called 911 in a panic, but deep down, I knew it was too late. By the time they arrived, she was gone, and then I woke up. And Olivia was still alive, still breathing, but the image of her lifeless body, that empty stare, still lingers in my mind. I can't shake it, can't convince myself that it wasn't real, bruise on Nathan's arm that he couldn't explain. A scratch on Sophie's leg that I knew she didn't get at school. I tried to brush it off, tried to convince myself that it was nothing, but I can't ignore it anymore. It's not just the physical marks, it's the way they look at me, the way they talk about the dreams without realizing they're doing it. Sophie asked me yesterday if I remembered the slide, the one from my dream. She described it perfectly. The height, the rust, the way she fell. I never told her about that dream. How could she have known? And Charlie, poor Charlie, he told me he doesn't want to go outside anymore. He's afraid that if he leaves the house, he won't come back. He said it so matter-of-factly, like it was just the way things are now. I'm losing them. Slowly, but surely, I'm losing my children. Journal entry, March 28th. It's always different, the way they die. I thought maybe there would be a pattern, something I could use to figure this out, to stop it. But there's no rhyme or reason. It's as if the universe is just toying with me, throwing me into one nightmare after another, never giving me a chance to catch my breath. Take Rosie, for example. Last night, she drowned, my sweet little girl, her tiny hands slipping from mine as the water pulled her under. We were at the beach, the waves crashing loudly, the sun setting in the distance. She'd been playing in the shallow water, laughing as the waves tickled her feet. I was right there watching her, close enough to reach her in seconds. But in the dream, the ocean was different. 1 minute, she was splashing in ankle-deep water. The next, she was gone. Just gone, as if the ocean had swallowed her whole. I ran into the water, screaming her name, but I couldn't find her. The waves kept pulling me back, no matter how hard I fought. I screamed until my throat was raw, but there was nothing, only the sound of the water and the fading light. I woke up gasping for air, my lungs burning as if I had been the one drowning. Rosie woke up crying that night too. When I went to her, she wouldn't stop sobbing, clinging to me, her tiny hands wrapped so tightly around my neck that I could barely breathe. When she finally calmed down enough to speak, she whispered, "Mommy." The water was too deep. I didn't ask her what she meant. I already knew. Journal entry, April 1st. I've stopped leaving the house. It feels safer here, like if I can just keep them all under one roof, I can protect them. I know it's stupid. I know that whatever this is, it's inescapable. But I can't shake the feeling that if I let them out of my sight, something will happen. Something permanent. Nathan's starting to push back. He's 16. He's supposed to be out with friends, living his life. But I can't let him. Not after last night. We were driving again, just like before. Only this time, it wasn't an accident. There was something on the road, something I couldn't see, but I could feel it. This dark, suffocating presence, like a shadow that wasn't supposed to be there. Nathan didn't notice it at first. He was laughing, teasing me about my terrible music taste, just like a normal teenager. But then the car swerved, and before I could react, we were flying off the road, tumbling down a steep hill. I could hear the sound of metal crunching, glass shattering, but it all felt so far away. My only thought was Nathan. Where was he? Was he okay? When the car finally stopped, I scrambled out, calling his name. But he wasn't in the car anymore. He was lying on the ground, twisted in a way that no human body should be. Blood pooled around him, dark and thick, staining the grass beneath him. I tried to reach him, but my legs wouldn't move. I screamed for him to wake up, to say something, but all I got in return was silence. I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Nathan was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the wall. He didn't look at me when I walked in, didn't say a word, in his eyes. He had the same dream. Journal entry, April 4th. Charlie's the one I'm most worried about now. He's always been the sensitive one, the one who feels everything so deeply. He's only 10, but it's like he's carrying the weight of the world on his tiny shoulders. I found him crying in his room last night, curled up in a ball, his face buried in his pillow. I asked him what was wrong, and he just shook his head, refusing to look at me. "Charlie," I said, sitting down beside him, "you can tell me anything, sweetheart. What's going on?" He wiped his eyes, finally turning to face me, and the look on his face broke my heart. He looked so... blood. "I don't want to die, Mom," he whispered. "I don't want to die like that." I pulled him into my arms, holding him close, trying to reassure him, but my words felt hollow. I didn't know what to say. How do you comfort your child when you know they're right? When you know that every night they die in their sleep and there's nothing you can do to stop it? Journal entry, April 7th. I don't know how much longer I can do this. The dreams aren't just nightmares anymore. There's something else. Something worse. It's like every time I close my eyes, I'm being transported to a different world, a different version of our lives where everything has gone wrong. And the more I dream, the more convinced I am that these aren't just figments of my imagination. They're real. I don't know how I know this, but I do. In some other version of reality, my children are dying. Over and over, in 100 different ways, and I'm powerless to stop it. I can't shake the feeling that the walls between these worlds are starting to thin, that soon the dreams won't just stay in the realm of sleep. They're already leaving marks, bruises, scratches, fears that linger long after we've woken up. I'm terrified of what will happen when the dreams finally break through.